I don't know about you, but I've been spending the last 11 years analyzing billions of cold emails sent with my platform, and it's clear to me that tactics that used to work just a couple of years ago will get you blacklisted instantly today. So what works now? Well, that's a problem. Most people have no clue. They use recycled advice from popular influencers who stopped doing cold email a long time ago or give up because it was too hard. But today, I'll share with you timeless advice that will help you succeed with cold email. I'm Jeremy, the founder of QuickMail, a platform that automates cold outreach via email and LinkedIn. In short, I have access to unique data insight nobody else has or is willing to share. By the end of this video, we'll learn what a successful campaign looks like these days, based on what I observed across thousands of campaigns and my own experience. Every founder, consultant, and agency asks me the same thing. Is cold email still working these days? How do I get more responses? Is my deliverability bad? Cold email can be easy when done right. At least people who focus on mindset and strategies first. But most people skip those steps and go straight to tactics. I get it. Tactics are actionable, easy to delegate, and to put into an SOP. But if you want good results, you just can't skip mindset and strategy steps. But before we look at what's working, it's important to understand why people fail at cold email. The main reason I found is that people aim for the wrong goal. You see, the goal of a cold email is to open a conversation, not to get someone on a call with you, not to drive traffic to a webinar, or to have them click on a link. It's just to open a conversation. Nothing more, nothing less. When you think like that, the focus shifts from you to the recipient, and you will naturally produce 10x better emails simply because of this. The second reason why most people fail is that their outreach has no strategy. They reduce it to who should we contact and what should we say? I'm sorry, that's not a strategy. That's a lack of strategy. When I needed to hire an executive assistant, I had to define a strategy first. I could have used job boards, ask people for recommendation, or simply use a company specialized in recruiting executive assistants. Instead, my strategy was to go after executive assistants who were properly trained and had experience, but were not paid well enough so they will be receptive to a job opportunity. Together with the idea to open a conversation, I looked for executive assistants who worked at least 1 year at a certain company and wrote a one-liner copy that got me 48% reply rate without personalization. And then I interviewed the one who drove the conversation without waiting for my input or permission. In the end, I found and hired an executive assistant that kicks ass. But what made this campaign a success was not the one-liner I wrote or that I went after a certain audience, but the whole strategy behind it. It could have failed, but having a sound strategy increases the odds tremendously, more than iterating on copy blindly or contacting everyone who had experience as an executive assistant. A good strategy will make sure that every part of the process makes sense as a whole. Another common mistake is to ramp up volume way too fast. People believe that they need to increase the volume if they're not getting enough results. But if they had a strategy to work with, a lack of results will simply mean that we need to find another angle to make it work. Volume is not a strategy. If anything, it produces fewer results as you increase it. That's what is called the law of diminishing returns. On top of that, increasing volumes comes with deliverability challenges that can be hard to find and handle. You'll need to master creation of new domains, email addresses, use of inbox rotation, monitor their performance, and vary the message content at scale. All of that could be easily done with QuickMail, but it's not going to give you good results if you lack a good strategy. Finally, in many cases, the software is actually the silent killer of the campaign. Of course, as the owner of QuickMail, I'm biased, but I know for a fact that technology matters in those cases. Cold email automation is an incredibly fast-paced market. In the 11 years that QuickMail existed, not a single year has been the same as the previous one. Last year, for example, it was Microsoft that caused massive problems for senders. So we introduced a new feature to get around it. But beyond addressing massive changes, the footprint that the app has on your email can have a significant impact on your deliverability. Sadly, lots of tools are growing through hype or influencers, regardless of how good they are technically speaking. The technical rules are constantly changing, and the last thing you want is a software that is not helping navigate those challenges. Or worse, harm your campaign by not evolving fast enough. Based on successful campaigns on our platform and my own experience, I quickly realized that what works depends more on the strategy used than who is contacted and what is said. But first, it's important to acknowledge that not all cold outreach is for selling a product or a service. I gave the example of finding an executive assistant, but it could also be used for plenty of other use cases, like contacting lukewarm leads after a webinar, finding podcast guests, or inviting local business owners to a diner. Second, not all campaigns need to be big. In fact, small volume campaigns usually perform better than high volume campaigns, mostly because they tend to have a clearer strategy that is easier to execute. Every successful campaign has a strategic element to it, and it's by far the most important element of a campaign. Tactics can work, but they should support your strategy and are often short-lived. Strategy is what you need to understand if you want to become good at cold outreach. A good strategy should at least answer the following questions. What's your angle? Why are we targeting those people specifically? Why would they want to engage in a conversation with us? And what's your game plan once they reply? That, in turn, should inform how you should build and run your campaign. Where to get prospects, scraping directories, using databases, what channel to use, how many follow-ups should you write, and so on and so on. Let's take a concrete look together at what a good strategy may look like. A few years ago, I wanted to raise our domain rating for SEO. We had a 30-point gap with our main competitors, and they started to hurt us. We decided to use backlinks to help raise our domain ratings with Google. We could contact other businesses to exchange links, but we knew that exchanging links with each other would cancel the SEO juice. We needed people to link to us without having to link to them. With this in mind, we explored what we could offer in exchange for a link. We didn't want to propose money like everyone else, which would make us look like spammers, or three-way links, which is difficult to put in place. At the time, we only had 6,000 subscribers to our newsletter, but we decided to try a campaign that would offer partners to be mentioned on the newsletter in exchange for a link on their website. We plan on targeting tools in our ecosystem and upsell them into a joint webinar or downsell them into a guest blog for them, where we could obviously add a link to QuickMail. That was the strategy in a nutshell. From there, we will narrow down our list of tools to website with good domain reputation already, verify they had a blog, found the person in charge of marketing, and wrote a copy that was a no-brainer for them to say yes to, with 2 follow-up emails offering less valuable but easier alternatives to say yes to. It could have been a total flop, but it turned out to be a huge success for us because the strategy was sound. After mindset and strategy, the most important element of a successful campaign is your list. If something has been reinforced in my mind over time, is the importance of a good list. You want to find a starving crowd and tell them they won the lottery. That's easier said than done, of course, but the closer you are to that goal, the better your campaign will perform. And if you hit the jackpot, you may well end up with a 6 to 7 figure campaign. There are multiple levels to prospecting. Level 1 is basically, this company does X, and it has X number of employees, there is a marketing person, blah, blah, blah. That's very basic, and that's what most people are doing. Level 2 is much better already. This is where you can target the type of people who usually have a specific topic or interest. For example, they follow and like certain influencers, or express interest by joining certain groups, or make mention in their posts or comments. Level 3 is really where the magic happens, but it's not always possible. Here, you know that person A is looking for B, where B is whatever you can provide. This last level will make your campaign way more successful because people are already looking for what you're offering. You have a starting crowd, and you can tell them that they won the lottery. And as a friend likes to say, there is no boring way to tell someone that they won the lottery. So it's very important to spend as much time as possible on prospecting and nail down your research, because if you do it well, you'll have more rooms for mistakes. The next element that requires your attention is often overlooked. I'm thinking about what channel to use. In short, you want to go where your prospects are the most active. If they are more active on LinkedIn, it may be a good idea to reach out to them on LinkedIn. If they are more receptive to the phone, then pick up the phone. Same for X, Instagram, email, and so on. Each channel has its own rules of engagement. You're not talking the same way on X, LinkedIn, or in an email. The channel also dictates what tactic you can use, like sending a follow-up email just 2 minutes after sending the first one, just to look more human. Multi-channel is clearly the way to go these days. Based on our data, campaigns that combines email with LinkedIn outreach see significant higher engagement rates. Think 1 plus 1 equals 2.3 instead of just 2. You'll get more results with campaigns combining both channels instead of targeting each channel individually. When it comes to the content of your message, try to minimize the information in it. Long email can work, but the more information you give, the more chances that you're going to make a mistake or that they won't need to reply because you gave them enough information already. And that's a problem because remember, the goal of a cold outreach is to start a conversation. One final point on content. Pay special attention to your call to action or CTA. Not all CTAs are equal. Some require low commitments like, can I send you more information? Some require high commitments like, are you free next Tuesday at 8 a.m.? If you're not getting any reply at all, it may be a signal to lower the commitment of your CTA. If you're getting too many replies and you're wasting time on calls, you may want to increase the commitment of your CTA. So play around with that. This is more or less a dial that you'll have to tune on a campaign-by-campaign basis. While I focused so far on all you need to know in order to build a successful campaign, a mistake in choosing the right tool or in configuring technical setups can kill your campaign in no time. As an agency, you need to make sure that your cold outreach system is reliable and predictable as your business depends on it. It would be nice if people didn't need to worry about this at all, but unfortunately, behind the nice marketing claims, not all tools can deliver at scale. When it comes to sending emails, getting great deliverability requires a certain level of sophistication. I'm talking proper domain authentication, SPF, DKIM, DMARC, strategic inbox rotation to maintain good sending reputation, email warm-up engagement with the right email providers, sending limits and variable sending times on each email senders, custom domain tracking with SSL, and so on and so on. Unfortunately, those are core technical requirements, not options you can ignore. To make the matter worse, they're constantly evolving based on new requirements from email providers. So make sure your tool is equipped to handle the constant technical challenges that are involved in sending emails at scale. And if you don't want to deal with any of this or want to save time, you can always purchase email fully configured with the latest technology directly inside QuickMail. That way you can focus on what matters instead of investigating why you don't get the deliverability that you deserve. To recap, if you want to win at cold email, make sure you have the right mindset, you have a good strategy, you nail down your prospecting, you vary your content, and pay attention to the CTA. And of course, choose a platform with a proven track record of handling changes gracefully. The best cold outreach campaign starts with conversation, with people who want to hear from you. So go find a strategy that helps you with this and give QuickMail a go if you want to avoid dealing with never-ending technical challenges.